Ahisatha and cha isquis chestenma and chas baus telichest. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Native Wellness Institute Power Hour. Today, we have a very special guest, two of them. We have Lovinia Alexander and Ryan Ortivez, and today they are going to be discussing the red road of sobriety and how during a pandemic they've been able to stay one sober and one do the work that they do. And they're also just going to share a little bit about their lives and how they got onto this red road and what were the things that impacted them. But before we get into their stories, first of all, Lovinia, do you want to just introduce yourself? And can you sit up closer so you're more in the frame? Yeah, like, because you're kind of leaned back. So maybe scoot up a little closer. Or scoot, yeah, pull it. Yeah. Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah.
My name is Lovinia Beanie Alexander. My given name is Saute. I was named after my great grandmother, Susan Michael. She had another Indian name, Shimta. I grew up in Worley for the first 6 years of my life and then moved to Spokane. And now I'm back. I'm back here on the Coeur d'Alene Reservation. I am actually enrolled in my dad's tribe, which is the Spokane tribe. And my mother, Beans Alexander, is full-blooded Coeur d'Alene.
Awesome. Thank you. And you're also my aunt. So and so now we have Ryan Ortivez. Ryan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello. My name is Ryan Ortivez. I'm a Coeur d'Alene tribal member. I grew up mostly here on the Coeur d'Alene Reservation. Moved around a little bit. My dad is enrolled Chehalis tribal member. So between here and there, my mom is a Coeur d'Alene tribal member. And I've been in recovery for 9 years in June. And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to share my experience and be on here with a live feed with some amazing people. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you both for joining us today. And so I'm going to be paying attention to the comments. And again, this is the Native Wellness Institute's Power Hour. And we have been doing, this is our 50th week of Power Hours since the pandemic started. So we're super excited that we've been able to bring wellness into everybody's homes and into their lives. And so we're going to start off this Power Hour with Lovinia, our Auntie Beanie. And we're just gonna, I just wanted to ask you, Auntie, what was it that made you stop using? And you can talk about, because I know you have a really powerful story of when you were using, where you were, and how bottom of the barrel you got. So can you kind of talk about, just like how bad it was and what it was that made you get sober?
So I began drinking when I was like 12 years old. And then by the time I was 18, I was addicted to drugs and alcohol. But in the very end, I had lived on the streets for 4 years as homeless, but I wasn't really homeless. I had family, but I chose to live on the streets and I drank every day. My health got really bad and I got arrested in December 1997 and I went through some pretty painful withdrawal while I was in jail. And I spent like 22 days in jail, and like 2 days before Christmas, the judge let me go. So I stayed sober because I was so sick and I went in and out of the doctors. I had like massive appointments at that time it was Benoit Medical Center. So I had mass appointments almost like twice a week to check my blood. And they were putting me on medications, and then they would, well, that one didn't work. So they give me another one and give me another one. And I was taking a lot of different medications to try to stay and get, keep alive, I guess. And then on February 27th in 1998, which was about 2 months later, I decided to go and party. And at the party, I only drank like one beer because I was too sick. I was really sick. I mean, my body was shutting down. I was so cold, and, I couldn't warm up my body. It was just like my immune system was shot. And so I think I started a second beer and I couldn't finish it. So I walked like 10 miles to my mother's house, and I fell asleep, and well, no, I didn't fall asleep. What happened was my body started overheating. It felt like it was overheating. I mean, like my blood was running like hot, like my muscles, my bones, everything was so hot. I felt like I was burning from the inside out, and I didn't know how to control that heat. And so I opened up this window and I stuck my feet out there because it was winter and there was snow on the roof. So I stuck my feet out there, and I just was hoping that would cool my body down, but it wasn't helping any. And I knew something was wrong. And as I laid there, it was like this fluorescent blue light. It was an image, and it was, I don't know if it was a man, but he was looking down at me like this. So he was looking down at me like this. And I asked him, I said, "Am I dying?" And he just shook his head, yeah. And I knew that all my children were downstairs with my mom, doing whatever. And at that moment, I prayed real hard. And I said that I would never do drugs or alcohol again. I just want to be here for my children. And then I must have went off into a deep sleep or something. And the next morning I woke up, and it was there was a phone call for me, and it was from the health services, and my counselor there was Brian, and it was him, and he said, "Lovinia, can you be ready for treatment in 2 days? We have a bed date for you at Puyallup Indian Treatment Center." So that was I guess the beginning of my the end in the beginning. So I knew that when I got to treatment and I was there, and I met a lot of other people in treatment with me, that the thing is that that I think helped me to stay clean and sober was that I wanted it. And when you want it, it helps. Okay.
Thank you, Auntie. And you know, and I totally remember that time. I remember me and Yaya when we went over to pick you up from treatment. I was the one that actually got to drive Yaya, and you know, we sat in that circle in the treatment center, and you had your graduation, and you know,
Yeah.
it was really a powerful moment. And you know, Yaya was so proud of you for completing treatment. And so, you know, that definitely, you know, was saved your life. And so I'm really proud of you, Auntie, for, you know, especially having lived on the streets, you know, hit rock bottom. It wasn't until years later that I even knew that you were that, you know, that, because we had such a loving family, you know. But I'm so thankful to Creator that you changed and that you were able to find your way. So Ryan, will you tell us your story now
Thank
and just share with us what happened with your life?
Yeah, absolutely. So, um, a little bit similar to Beanie. You know, I had to come to a place, a dark place in my recovery before I was able to, you know, have that moment where I realized that I needed to make a change. And for me, it started at about 12 years old when I started using. A lot of the older peers around me were using, drinking, smoking weed, making it look cool, and that's what I wanted. Like when we're younger, we want to be cool, right? So
you.
I was you know partying a lot. Um, my mom, I grew up in a single parent household. My mom raised us. She worked a lot, and so you know we didn't have a lot of supervision because my mom was working sometimes until 11, 12 at night. So we would run around. We live in a very small community, so we'd run around with our friends, you know, drinking and doing whatever, you know, whatever we wanted, kind of. Um, and I made my first visit to incarceration at 12 years old, and it really wasn't that big of an impact because a lot of my friends were all going with me. So every time I went to juvenile, there was my friends. They were also getting caught up in drinking and drugging, and so it was kind of like a little break. And you know that kind of escalated, you know, into my teen years. And in the back of my mind, I always told myself, you know, I'm just gonna use, you know, party around while I'm young. I still got, you know, plenty of time to sober up. I started getting in more and more legal trouble, getting pulled over, getting arrested for, you know, things related to my alcohol and my marijuana use, and it started to affect my school. And I loved school growing up, but it was affecting my school because I was, you know, paying more attention to hanging out with my friends and wanting to party around and stuff, and it started to affect my grades. Um, Coming to school hungover all the time started to affect my attitude towards, you know, the staff and my teachers, and eventually I dropped out. Um, and you know, I just started using, started getting, you know, drunk, drinking and driving. Ended up relocating to, you know, family members in Lapway. There it lasted, you know, very short time, and I started getting in trouble there. Um, and into my adult life, I was in and out of jobs. I would work jobs for a couple of weeks, long enough to get a paycheck, so I can, you know, put some beer in my fridge and put some a little bit of food in my belly. Um, and essentially, I ended up living out of my car. I had bought a vehicle with my 18 money, and I was had my bags packed and my alcohol in there. And at the time, I thought, you know, this is okay. You know, I'm still young. And eventually, I was in and out of jail. Um, I would be doing like 5, 6 months at a time in and out of jail. Still didn't really feel like it was that big of a problem because I wasn't in the big leagues going to prison. I ended up, you know, getting in a bad crash, running from the cops, and hurt some people. When I was 20 years old, I ended up in prison. And I just like jail and juvenile, I kind of adapted. And um, at the time, I still didn't feel like I was at my rock bottom, even though my freedom has gone, my relationship, my, you know, relationship with my family members has been damaged. And I spent a few years there, about 3.5 years. I got released. Told myself I was totally done. I knew, I didn't want that lifestyle for myself anymore. Got out. I lasted 8 days. Then I relapsed again. I ended up making it about a month, and then I went back to prison. Um, and we always tell ourselves, when we get, I do these programs inside of the treatment, and I'm fully convinced, that I'm gonna be done. Got released again, didn't make it very long. I got some new charges, went back. Um, but the third time I went back to prison, um, I feel like the biggest, there's a couple of factors that really played into switching my mind. I've lost my vehicles, I've lost my freedom, I've lost my some family members, I've lost all these things. But what it really took was when my child was born. Um, I had a daughter who was born in 2010, and prior to that, nothing had really convinced me that going to prison was that big a deal, because like I said, I kind of adapted. But I remember in November of 2011 having a conversation with my daughter, and she's just barely talking, just she's like 1 year old, a little over 1 year old. But I remember thinking to myself that I can't have that kind of pain in my life anymore. That's a pain I've never experienced, of being away from my child, because I've never had a child before while I was in prison. So I kind of made up my mind that something has to be different. During this time, in 2012, while I was incarcerated, I lost a close relative of mine, Bo Nikolai, and he lost his life, while he was incarcerated, while he's drinking and driving, and that really hit home for me. That really made a big difference in my life. And it was that point where I told myself that I'm not going to allow that to happen to me. I'm not going to allow myself to become another statistic, to move forward with that, because out of respect for him, it doesn't make a lot of sense if I'm witnessing somebody who I care about, somebody who I grew up with. He's like my brother, to witness him lose his life. And he don't have a second chance. He don't have another chance to get sober. He don't have the chances that I have to, go to this treatment program and engage, and, ultimately change my life. And so I had the choice. I could, do this treatment program while I was in prison, and choose to make a change for the better. And that's ultimately what I had to do for myself, for my family, for my higher power. And I feel like that's really what changed it for me, is really understanding that in order for my recovery to be successful, I had to recategorize everything. Prior, I would say, okay, I gotta stay free. I gotta be off probation. I gotta make my parole officer happy. I gotta make my bosses happy, everyone else happy. But really, what it has to be for me, is my creator, myself, and then everyone else. And once I realized that that's the order of priority in my life, my recovery since then has been so much easier. I put everything in my creator. Then I take care of myself, my happiness, and then I'm able to make my kids happy. I'm able to make my relatives happy, my coworkers, and everyone else. I'm able to give them, feed up to feed out of a full cup. As before, I was worrying about everything else first. And really, like I said, what's helped me last is keeping things in that order. Putting my efforts into my treatment program, reaching out for help from individuals like Beanie. She's been there since the very beginning of my recovery. I've utilized her, LoVina. Like these are my mentors. I call them in my recovery, and I have to have mentors in different directions in my life, and I come to them for advice, and I reach out, and they're ultimately responsible, for guiding me in my recovery. And I think that's what's really, helped me make it this far. Otherwise, doing it my way, I probably wouldn't even have made it, another year. I'd probably still be incarcerated. So, I mean, that's the gist of my story, and how I came to where I'm at today.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. One question that I wanted to ask you is, you know, like when you like, I feel like so many people who are on this red road and who, you know, make this decision, like, I'm gonna quit drinking, I'm gonna quit doing drugs, like they're really like they're determined, but then when they relapse, it's like, ah, they just feel so horrible. And you know, but how, like when you relapse, Ryan, or when you like was gonna quit and then it didn't work, how did you do that? Like, how did that feel when you know, when you thought you had it, you were determined, and then it didn't happen?
So it's kind of interesting how that happens, and it's really, it really boils down to just the way we treat ourselves, the way we take care of ourselves. When I first got out, and I only lasted 8 days, on I think it was day like 4 maybe, I got a small driving infraction. I'm like, okay, life, like they're coming for me. I'm done for. And then we just beat ourselves up, and so when we just hammer on ourselves for that little mess up, and I'm like, okay, heck with it. I'm just gonna do what I'm used to doing because that's how we took care of ourselves before, right? That's how I was. That's how I deal with my emotions. That's how I deal with my frustrations, my pains, my depressions, my anxieties. Is I would start using. Um, and it's funny because I talked to my when I went back to prison, my PO was like, "Man, that's crazy. Why would you do that?" He's like, "All we would have did is just had you take care of it, and you would have been back, you know, doing your thing." But really, it's because I allowed that small little speed bump in the road to veer me off into Neverland instead of saying, "Whoa, shoot, I got to slow down and you know, gather myself and then keep going." I'd hit that speed bump and I'd be like, "Whoa," way out there, and that's really what happened every time. And so what I changed about that behavior when I was released and when I started my recovery journey this time is understanding that I know for a fact that these things are happening to other people, that these things are happening to everyone who is in recovery, but that in order to get past it, that I have to just, like I said, reach out for that help, reach out to those mentors, to those advisors, to those sponsors, and say, "Hey, freak, I messed up. I need to figure out how to get back on the road." And I wasn't doing that before because as a human, as a man, as a macho or whatever, I don't like to reach out for help. But what I understand now and what's different now is that I know that is key. That if I had all the answers, I wouldn't have to have go in and out of jail and prison and all that. So what I really have to do is be able to trust in other people and reach out and be able to accept that advice, even when it's what I don't like. LoVina knows I've come to her and she's, you know, gone after me and said, "Hey, this is what you need to be doing. You're crazy." I'm like, "Okay, okay, okay." And we'd go back and forth and back, "All right, all right, all right. Okay, I know what I need to do. I got to do it, even though I'm not happy about it." But that's what we have to do. I think in order to change the direction of our lives, to change the outcome, is to change our behavior.
Yeah. And I think one of the things about changing your behavior is changing your friends. And how much, like, so Auntie Beanie, like, you know, of course you had all these friends, you know, that were happy to come party with you, you know, do drugs, do whatever, help you get that next high, you know. But did you find that after you went to treatment, were any of those friends still there? Or what did you have to do to maintain your sobriety when it comes to friends? Because I hear that all the time, is that, you know, like you know, if I go back into that environment, it's just like, you know, when the story about the baby that's coming down, you know, all these babies are coming down the river and they're dirty, and then you know, the people, the village takes them and they clean them off, and you know, and they're like, well, where are these babies coming from? You know, like where is the source of the problem? And you know, so what is it that our friends, that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask, is how much do you have to change your life once you become sober, in friends, family, you know, how do you have to do that?
Well, one of the things, you know, besides friends, was my own cousins. I mean, I just loved them, you know, and had so much fun with them, you know, at least thinking I was having a lot of fun. And they were so close to me, and, you know, and my friends too. Um, but while I was in treatment, I had a counselor, and her name was Bernadine Villegas from the Colville tribe. And she had me working on scenarios of what I would tell each one of my friends, each one of my cousins when I came in first contact with them after treatment. And it wasn't like for every friend or every cousin, but it was like for the main, you know, my main peer pressured cousin or my main peer pressured friend. And so I played out these scenarios. And when it came to that time, it was not easy. It was not easy because I started getting anxiety. I started, my blood pressure was going up. It was hard for me to say no to my cousin, to my bestie. You know, it was hard for me to tell them, no, I'm in recovery, I'm done. But I guess acting it out and having a scenario and knowing what I was going to say helped me a lot. And I always knew that I loved them, but I always knew that I couldn't be around them, and that was really hard. And
How did they take it? Like, so when you said what you needed to say, like, can you give me an example? Like tell me, like, if I was that cousin, or if I was your wild and crazy niece, and I was like, Auntie, let's go party. Like, what? How would you tell me?
well, because you feel like you're like Ryan said, you're like all macho with that cousin or that friend, and you're just all macho and like, you want to be real cool and all that, and just be on, and so with when my cousin, it was like I got home from treatment like around, I don't know, around midnight or something. I went to bed, woke up that next morning, ate breakfast, and I was doing dishes when my cousin pops up. She didn't live that far away. And she showed up. She knew I was home. She goes, she went like this to me. She goes, and I was like, and I had already played this all out. So I knew exactly what I was going to tell her, but it wasn't easy because at that moment I was like pretty shook up. It was hard. It was hard to not be cool. I don't know what, but I did. I just told her, no, I don't do that anymore. I'm in recovery. And I really didn't, I always heard about what recovery was, but I knew right then and there. And she just kind of looks at me and she goes, oh, okay, well, let's just ride bikes. I was like, okay. So we went for a bike ride. That was just one cousin.
Right. So what about you, Ryan? Because I know with guys, it's like you're a bro, and you got all these bros that
Yeah.
probably just pressured you.
No, and it's painful. And what I really had to understand is that recovery is so selfish, and we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with saying, "Hey, I love you, I care about you, but I have to take care of me." One of my very first encounters was one of my good friends, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna come grab you tonight, and we're gonna go chill." And I was like, "All right," and I was like, "Ah, oh, my daughter's here though." And he said, "All right, well, I'll come get you when she gets picked up." I said, "Actually, you know what? It's not even about that anymore." I said, "I can't come chill." I said, "If you want to come hang out, we can do that. If you want to, go to a meeting or something, we could do that." And there was animosity for a while. There was, we weren't friends for a good year, and I have to be okay with that. I have to be okay with knowing that not everyone is going to be, excited about my new lifestyle as I am, but that we have to pick ourselves up and keep moving because we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our families. And so, something that I had to play over and over and over in my head as I'm moving forward in my journey is to show me your friends and I'll show you your future. we have to surround ourselves with people who are thriving, with people who are chasing that dream. And I had to tell myself all the time, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. If I'm hanging out with people who are doing stuff that I'm running away from, eventually it's inevitable. I'm going to go back to that. But if I'm surrounding myself with people who are doing the things that I love, the things that I see myself doing, which is helping people, and that's exactly what I did. I surrounded myself with people who are giving back to our community, and I got the opportunity to see their magic work, to see them blessing other people in their community. And so I got to sit back and watch all those things happen, and then eventually those same energies, started to be instilled within myself. And it's really just because we are who we hang out with, we are who we surround ourselves with.
Wow, that's really powerful, Ryan. I love that. Like, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Like, that should be the title of your book that will be coming out in 2022. That is so true. And so now I wanted you guys to talk a little bit about, and I haven't seen any questions, but if anybody has any questions that are watching, put them in the chat. I'm watching the chat and I'm trying to type in a little bit of what everybody's saying. But so what do you do now? So Auntie Beanie, how many years of sobriety do you have now?
February 28th, I have 23 years.
23 years. And Ryan, how many years of sobriety do you have?
On June 12th, it'll be 9 years.
9 years. So,
Right.
yeah, so we have like a lot of years of sobriety in this power hour. And so after Auntie Beanie, what do you do now? Like what direction did your life go in as you decided to go on this journey of being sober?
Well, I guess I would say I had a job, my first job that I actually kept. And to me, it was washing dishes. But to me, that was a positive thing. And it kept me out of trouble. And I was paying bills, which was so exciting when you first get into recovery. For me, it was. I mean, I went and paid my first bill and I was like, yes, and it was like people around me like, why are you so happy? You just paying bills, but it's awesome. It's an awesome feeling. Yeah. So where am I?
That is so awesome. Like, I think, because one of the things I've also heard is that if you don't do something to stay busy in a positive way, it's really easy for your mind to start wandering, or to start thinking about things that is things that will take you down the bad road, right? So that's awesome, like just getting a job. And so what about you, Ryan? What was some of the first things that you did that after you became sober?
So it's kind of a crazy little road. When I first entered into recovery, um, I didn't know where I was going. All I knew for sure is that I loved my kid and that I wanted to take care of her. And now I know that that's my responsibility. I've introduced another human being into this world, and that's my responsibility now. I remember my first job I got when I got out was scrubbing floors at the casino, and I loved it. Like, that's the first job I've ever been like happy at, and I thought I was gonna be there for the rest of my life. Like, these leadership positions were coming open. I'm like, oh man, I worked so hard, I'm gonna squeeze right in there. And I got fired from that position. And again, like, I thought like, oh man, life is rough, and like we go into that pity mode, and I'm like, that's screwed up, things are working against me. But um I already knew, like I said before, like I have to reach out, I have to ask for help, I have to get some support on this, because I don't know what to do. These are things that I just go straight to the bottle for. I don't deal with these. I don't know how to deal with these things. I'm just barely growing up. Um, I talked to some mentors, and they're like, just wait, pray for it. It's gonna come. And then this community meeting started, and I just started going because I'm like, I don't have money. So like me and my kid, that was a highlight of our, our week. And I'm like, hey, let's go out here. It's free food. And got to hear some amazing stories, some influential people. And ultimately, like I pulled one of our leadership, Charlotte Nielsen. I pulled her to the side, and I was like a little bit of embarrassed still at this time. I'm like, I know I'm like pretty new to recovery, and I said, but there's this journey I want to go on. I want to provide healing to our community, but from a cultural perspective. And so her and I just kind of like back and forth a little bit, and I was like, I'm a little bit scared. She's like, you know what? Just sign up for this training. We're going to get you there no matter what. We have to do fundraisers or whatever. And that was my first little glimpse into what I do now. And after that, everything just started falling in place. And of course, there's bumps in the road. But again, what I do now when those bumps hit is I gather myself, I reach out to my mentors, to my advisors, and I say, hey, I've had this bump in the road. What can I do now? And through guidance and through support, through people advocating for me, LoVina has advocated for me on so many different occasions. And these people bless me because they know that I care. They know that I'm here for the right reasons. And what I do now is I work for a program that offers services at a peer level. So I'm not a counselor, I'm not a judge, I'm not a probation officer, but what I do now is I kind of help navigate people through their recovery. So when they're coming home, I jump right in there. I help them navigate through those resources, the things that I did on my own, the things that I felt like I was so lost in, like things that are simple as like filing for food stamps, getting my driver's license back, getting part custody of my kid. Like I didn't know how to do those things, so I just like tucked my tail and like kind of went along with the flow in the beginning. But that's what helps me keep accountable for my own success. Is giving back to my community, giving back to my people, and seeing them like there's no better gift in this work than to see somebody smile after you've watched them go through so much darkness, so much pain, and then to finally see them muscle through and push out a smile. That's what is it. That's what I'm in it for, and that's really what helps keep me moving. Even in my career, I've had a lot of ups and downs and whatever, but what keeps bringing me back to my roots is just to be able to see people smile, to be able to work with amazing individuals like LoVina and Beanie, and to see them giving back and delivering that cultural component and helping teach me that stuff so that I could pass it on, is really what helps me through prayer, through Sweat Lodge. We do things like walk for sobriety and things like that, like really engaging in recovery services and cultural services is really what helps me stay on top of my game and keep me grounded in my recovery.
Wow, that's awesome, Ryan. Thank you for sharing that what you're doing. And so have you been doing, Auntie Beanie? Like I know you work in career renewal, and so what are some of the things, and what are some of the things that help people to be able to get back on their feet again?
I would say one thing, in the beginning when I was a chemical dependency counselor, I think that if they're looking for like they want to go to treatment, one of the things that I like to refer them to is to get that assessment or get a evaluation right away. And I know that Ryan has helped in many ways with many people getting them into treatment. And it's not, sometimes when we try to do it on our own, we get into these roadblocks and then we turn around and say no. But Ryan puts it like there's this time frame, like here you are right here, I want to go to treatment, and then you have this much time to get that person into treatment. And so for me, I would refer somebody to Ryan or somebody in their reentry program, because I know that they have the tools, they have the skills, and that's what they'll do. They know that time frame that the person wants to go to treatment, and they know they have to get that taken care of before they like run into some barrier and say, okay, and then we lose them and they're off the grid. I think that in those times, like if you're falling off and you're really trying, is not to give up and reach out to the people out there that are available to you. Where I'm at right now, I work with people with disabilities to find employment, a successful career, put them through training if they're going to go back to college, or even if they just want to work, just to be working. And alcohol and drug abuse is a disability. And I would say in our community, it's huge. It's one of the main disabilities that we deal with in career renewal. So we have a lot of services that we offer that are related to getting that job, going to school, getting training. Uh, we can pay for a lot of the services. We've paid people's tuition for school, but we've had them work through things like make sure that they did all these comfortable benefits. Like, did they apply for an appeal to the college to see if that appeal didn't go through? Then we would take that denial as a part of a comfortable benefit that they're trying to get their tuition paid, other than going through us. And if it comes to it, and then we can pay for tuition, or if somebody wants to go to training, we've had people get their CDLs. And again, like if there are programs and resources out there that will pay for getting your CDL, driving trucks, driving transportation vehicles. So with getting a CDL, it's some places it costs quite a bit. So then some tribal taros will help in paying for that, depending on what tribe you're from. And there are some resources that are not tribal that will help pay for some of the cost. And when we reach out to those people, then if there's other costs that need to be taken care of, like work clothing, work boots, things like that, we can get that for them. Tools, we can get that for them. If there's a balance on the tuition, we can help with that too.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
Any questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's a lot of, like there's a lot of programs that are within tribes and within cities that can really help people to get back on their feet and, start their lives. One question I wanted to ask is how important is it for people like to attend meetings? Is that a big part of your sobriety? And, like, I know not everybody, like especially during this pandemic, right? Like how, no, most people were used to going to meetings like person to person and getting that support from their sponsors. And so how have people adjusted, and what have you guys been able to do?
I know, like when I very first got into treatment before pandemic and things like that, I know the first thing I did was 90 days, 90 meetings. So every day I was going to a meeting. And some of those meetings I was able to bring my children. So I was really excited about those meetings because then I could take them with me. And at that time I had 6. So I take all 6 of them with me to the meeting. And I'm not saying you have to, but you can choose one of the meetings as your home group. Out of all these 90 meetings that I attended, I chose one of them as my home group. That would be the meeting that I would attend, and the people there were my support. And I chose a meeting that was called Felony Flats in Spokane. And it was elders. They're kind of older. And I really enjoyed them as my home group. And plus, they didn't mind that I brought my children with me. So, and like they had like events, you know, like, okay, we're all going to meet at the park and we're going to have a recovery, you know, hot dogs and, you know, games and things like that. And it was pretty neat to be there. And then when you get there, there's like hundreds of people in recovery there and their families. It was just, it's pretty awesome. So each meeting offers something. And for each meeting, even if you don't participate or say anything, it's always something that somebody says in that meeting that's gonna touch your heart, touch your mind, or it's gonna help you. And one of the things about now that it's in a pandemic, so far I know a lot of people are getting on Facebook, and they have like groups. And so there are some online Zoom meetings that they can attend. And in Spokane right now, they have meetings that are opening up to the public.
Yeah, well, and that's really good. And one of the things that I really loved about, what Ryan started was Warrior Up. And I feel like your daughter, Auntie Beanie, Itzy, like she uses working out. Like she's like a working out machine. And what that is helping her in her sobriety. And and I know even for so many people that when you can put your energy into something else, that really helps. So Ryan, can you talk a little bit about Warrior Up and like what is that, and how did you guys start it, and what's going on with that?
So that was actually Billy's little his endeavor, and really what it is, like what you said, is just to offer something, because fitness is beautiful. Fitness is amazing. It helps you create that positive energy, gives you a sense of accomplishment. It gives you helps fill in that time when you have downtime, and you could do it anywhere. And a lot of people use that as an outlet. Like you said, Itzy, she's doing amazing. So is her husband. Like they do amazing things with their fitness. But the purpose of that group was to gather, again, like-minded people, people who are in that same journey. Because a lot of the times, what the biggest hesitation is, oh, I've never been in that gym before. I've never been a part of a workout group. I've never been a part, and I don't want to, because it's sometimes it's shameful. But what that created was a open space for people to come in and be with people who are on the same path or on a similar path. Again, surround yourself with like-minded people, and it brings down the tension, brings down the anxiety, and it makes it so much easier just to make that first step through the door and say, hey, I've never done this before, but I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to check it out. A couple of my friends from recovery are also going there. And doing things like that is really what helped change the game of recovery. Meetings are awesome. Meetings are amazing. That could be considered a meeting, though. Sometimes when we use the word meeting, everyone thinks that we mean that it has to be AA or it has to be NA. Those things are awesome outlets. Those things are amazing meetings. But there's also things, like I said, like that Warrior Up. There's things like we do sobriety encampments. We do honoring dinners, where we just come together and honor individuals who are in the milestones in their recovery. Maybe it's a year, maybe it's their 6-month mark, maybe they've been in recovery for 20 years. We come together and honor those things. We do talking circles. And it's really anywhere that you can surround yourself with people who are on that same pathway, on that similar journey, that we want to create a healthy lifestyle. We want to create a healthier version of us. So there's so many different opportunities, and what we need to do, and what we have been doing is creating these spaces where people can come together and network, where there could be somebody in a situation where they're sober for they've been sober for maybe 2 months, and then they get in the same room with somebody who like Beanie, who has a couple decades under her belt, where she's able to offer that experienced advice and say, hey, I might have been in recovery for this many years, but here's what helped me out, and that might help somebody click. That might help somebody have their aha moment, if you will, so that they can seek that advice, and we create those healthy relationships. That's how we surround ourselves with people who are successful, like we want to be in recovery.
Yeah, and well, and one of the people that made a comment talked about Sobriety, and I remember even back before when I first moved over here, and we used to have Sobriety meetings and go through the book, and like I mean, it helped me a lot just going to the Sobriety meetings because they were just like so awesome.
Yeah,
And
absolutely, and that's actually where I started my journey, is going to White Bison, like getting involved with Wellbriety, and that's what opened my whole window of opportunity to get involved in cultural healing, is because I didn't know anything about that kind of stuff, but I wanted to. I was hungry, but being new to this, I didn't know where to go. So I looked to individuals like you guys, and with a mix of everyone, I was able to bring it here. We've done Wellbriety trainings here in our community. We still offer those services, and we're gonna continue to offer more, as long as it's effective. And I think it is. It might not be a swarm of individuals who want the Wellbriety or the cultural services, but there will definitely always be a need in our community, because that's how we relate. And even if it's just opening that door, using that cultural component, opening that gate and saying, hey, here's people who have experienced similar traumas, similar experiences as you. We have similar pain in today's world that that we can all begin to heal together. So yes, definitely Wellbriety has been an amazing component in my life and in so many other people's lives.
And we only have like 5 more minutes left, so I think what I wanted to have you guys end with today is you know if you could speak, because we have all kinds of people who that watch our power hours, and if there's somebody watching that's struggling right now, like what's a word of advice that you could give them, or like is there any last things that you want to say to everybody watching and everybody who's gonna watch? Do you want to go ahead and start, Auntie Beanie?
Okay. One thing I know for in recovery is, like, I like the way Ryan put it, that like, you want to know, like you want to know about your culture, and you want to know, how to go about getting involved in those things and stuff. And I know that, like, I chose, like, I wrote it down. I wrote down 100 things that I wanted to do in recovery, that were cultural related, that were sacred, things that some traditions and values that we've lost and that we didn't pass down. And so I wrote down like 100 of those things, so that those things would be the things that I would be doing. And it's and like Ryan said, it's like, how do you go about that? How do you, like, because, like, I've never sweat before, and I wanted to sweat when I was first in recovery, but because of all the medications I was taking, my doctor said no, I couldn't. But eventually I got better, and the courage to just go do that for the first time. It's like, um I prayed about it. So then, and you want all these things. And I like that idea that Ryan said about Wellbriety, because Wellbriety has a lot of answers. and gives you that courage and shows you, you know, you teach and learn, and that that want that you want, like, I want to know this, I want to know that about culture, about values, about tradition. Well, variety will show you. Well, variety will teach you. And so some of the things that I do now is seasonal, gathering roots and preparing and taking care of them. Those, you know, it's always I always, when I first like heard about it, okay, all right. So I get out there and I'm gathering roots, and it's hard work, and it's, but you just go at it because you want it. You know, you go at it and you want it. And then after you gather them, then you got to take care of them, and then and you got to clean them, and then you got to prepare them for um uh I don't know, saving them for the winter or for the year, or you know, preparing them.
Yeah.
um
Awesome.
a
Well, that's
lot, there's a
cool. I
lot.
like that. I like that. Writing down 100 things, you know, even that's just really cool. And then check them off, you know, your bucket list. So what
Mhm.
about you, Ryan? What's your power?
So what I kind of spoke about earlier is, um, if I was to give advice, it would be to prioritize your success. I feel like a lot of people get sober for their family, their wife, their boss, the courts, the to get their kids back. That's the one I hear about the most. But if you prioritize your success, if you put your higher power above everything, whether that's God, Allah, Creator, Christmas tree, whatever you believe in, whatever is your higher power, if you put that above all of your success and you build your foundation on that, no one can ever take that from you. That is something that you will carry for the rest of your life, and take care of yourself and then everyone else after that. Second is surround yourself with the people who are doing the things that you love. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Surround yourself with successful people who are working on themselves, who are working on whatever it is that you want to be working on. Third is tell people your goals, tell people your mission, tell people what you're about, share that with everyone, share with people the medicine that you're trying to deliver to the world, share with people the energy that you want to come out of your success. If you let people know, hey, just so you guys know, I'm on this kick. I'm getting in recovery. I'm sober. I'm here to stay. I'm not gonna change my mind. This is how I want to live my life. Then the easier people will take it when you have to have that one-on-one conversation and say, hey, remember I made the announcement. I'm doing this for myself. I'm in it for the long run now. So share your success with the people who are closest to you. Um, and I feel like the most one of the most important things is to love yourself, to not beat up on yourself. Love yourself unconditionally. I know it's easy to love everyone else. It's easy to love your kids. It's easy to love your mom, your family members, but you gotta love yourself. You gotta take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. Your journey is your responsibility. So love yourself, forgive yourself, take care of yourself, and everything else comes after that. Love you guys.
One more thing. One
Yeah.
more thing. So when it comes to a point where like you're feeling like down on yourself because somebody had said something to you, and that is not who you are now, because who you are now is not who they're trying to say you are. So like,
Yeah. Oh
yes,
yeah.
so like
So when people attack you like that and try to like, oh, you're who do you think you are? You know, I knew you when you were blah blah blah, right? Like, um, and I know there, you know, there's people who are watching. I wanted to say her name, but Mildred Allen. You know, she's like, hey man, I've been sober 4 months. You know, I need prayers. So you know, I know all the people who are out there who are watching, you know, some of them, this is like this helps them so much. And one of the things that we do as Indian people is we pray. And so, you know, I just want to take this last minute to just, you know, close our eyes and I'll sing a song. And for all of you who are on this red road, that our song will be, to just keep you on that red road and to help you to stay focused on yourself and loving yourself and clearing away so that you can love yourself. So Creator Kulantu and Limlam Kukut Katiai for this beautiful day and for allowing us to come together on this virtual space. And we just ask our ancestors to come down and to wrap their arms around each and every one of us and help us in a way that will keep us strong and will keep us on this red road and will keep us in a good way to help our people clear our hearts and our minds and our spirits. And so I sing this song and just ask it to clear away for my brothers and sisters who are struggling, for my family members, for anybody out there in this world that's on our Mother Earth, that it will help them. Oh,
Hey, yeah.
Ho, 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 hey, oh, hey. Limlimsh Kukuts Katiai for this day, for being here and joining us. And Ryan, thank you for that smudge, because that's one of our healing tools. One of our tools is to smudge and to pray and to just, allow that to clear the way. And when we're feeling sad and when we're feeling down and when we're feeling alone, that we just ask our ancestors, ask the people who have passed on, help us, give us strength, allow us to do good for our people and, for our future, and that our children will have a better life than what we had. And so we just, I'm so thankful and I'm so grateful for you and for all that you do for our communities and for our people. And I just pray for all of you and ask that the Creator will bless you. So Lim Lam Shinchaspuus Talichas. Thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope you have a beautiful day and a beautiful rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.